This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, as always, my guy Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Lots to get into this week. Heavy football podcast because the Detroit Lions went through 2 joint practices. I'm recording this with Adam fresh off of the second practice with the Giants. Boots on the ground, saw both practices. Offense on Tuesday, looked at the defense on Wednesday, and the practices were very interesting. But before we get into all of that, we got to talk about it. We clamored for it. Everybody in Detroit said, look, the backup quarterback situation for the Lions could be drastically upgraded. And guys, you have to pay attention to trends, always. You never in the NFL really hear a head coach clamor for a player. When Dan Campbell last week was asked about Teddy Bridgewater, and he comes out and says, yeah, if the front office can get him, I want him. That indicates that he's telling the front office, make the deal happen. And on the heels of a 3-interception practice where Nate Sudfeld, against the number 1 defense on Saturday, has one of his worst practices. Guys, I'm thankful in the position that we're in doing podcasts, writing for a site, that I can, with Adam, create whatever really we want. So my headline Saturday, if you're following, was, call Teddy again, make it happen. Sudfeld was brutal. Monday, what happens? Boom, Teddy Bridgewater's here. And that's why I love the fact that we can be bold and we can write whatever we want, we can podcast however we want, and we can give it straight with no spin, and we can keep it real. Because Teddy Bridgewater's here, I think I'm in line with what everybody's saying. It signals that the Lions are caring, they're pushing all in, and they don't want, after what they've seen with Sudfeld, who just kind of maybe has plateaued at practice through the last week, they don't want, if anything bad happens to Jared Goff, they don't want to rely on Nate Sudfeld to lead them. Teddy's an upgrade, and he provides Dan Campbell and the coaching staff a little bit more comfort, which is all you can ask for when a coach is going into a critical year for everybody involved.
Well, I think you're right about what you said. I think there's a bigger picture going on here. The one thing we always talk about with Detroit sports, and specifically with the Lions, nobody ever wants to come here, and specifically with the Lions, the culture is bad. Well, I think we've now seen a dramatic shift. And this free agent signing, I think, points to all of that. It's a dramatic shift in culture where guys want to come here to play. Guys want to be on this roster. They want to be a part of this organization. They want to help this team win. This is arguably the best backup quarterback that's out there. This is a guy who, if you kind of go down every NFL roster, he's probably QB 27, I think you could make the argument for. You know, this is a guy who is better than some of the guys that are going to start this year. A guy who you can put in and you can have confidence that he's going to win you a game. This is a guy that you can roll out there against the best of the best, and you can count on him not costing you a chance to win that game. Now, is he as good as Jared Goff? At this moment in time, I don't necessarily think so. But I think Teddy Bridgewater is still one of the better quarterbacks in this league. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is better than QB 32. I think Teddy Bridgewater is somewhere in that range of bottom third starting quarterbacks. And that's your backup. And I think he's a guy that you can bring into the locker room, a guy that you can bring into this organization, and more importantly, a guy you can bring into the quarterback room. And a guy like Hendon Hooker can learn from. He can take stuff from Jared Goff and watch how he prepares. He can take stuff from Teddy Bridgewater, watch how he prepares. And also, a guy like Jared Goff can see things that Teddy Bridgewater sees. And look, Teddy Bridgewater, he's a veteran. He's solid. He's a good locker room guy. This is a guy who can go out there and play, and he's a guy who can win you games. I don't know what else you can really ask for. You know, this right here was a major feather in the cap of Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, the front office, the entire organization, because like I said, it signals. This is the move, almost like when Pudge Rodriguez came and played for the Tigers. This is the move that signals the change. This is the free agent acquisition that signifies to the rest of the league, like, you want to come here, you want to be here. And I think this helps solidify everything that we have talked about. We've talked about C.J. Gardner-Johnson coming in and how that was a bit of a coup. Now, you can kind of make arguments and kind of parse that apart if you really wanted to and say, well, the Lions just paid him more money. That's why he came here. It's a one-year deal. It's super player-friendly. You can go that route if you want. Teddy Bridgewater didn't have to come here. Teddy Bridgewater didn't have to sign now. Teddy Bridgewater could have waited, could have sat down and just backed out and waited till after the preseason games got started, because there's always injuries. A starting quarterback will probably go down, and Teddy Bridgewater could have made a decision there. On top of that, Teddy Bridgewater could have waited till the middle of the season, and when a starting quarterback goes down, could have jumped on and went someplace and played. This signifies the culture has changed. This signifies that free agents want to come here. They want to play for this coaching staff. They want to be a part of this organization. This right here is a major, major check plus for Dan Campbell, for Brad Holmes, for the entire Lions front office. This right here was a Machiavellian-like move. This was absolutely incredible. This was awesome. It points to everything we've been talking about with this team and how this team is on the rise, like you said.
Yeah, it's great because you realize that what have we been clamoring for years, which is, hey, the backup position is not exactly where it needs to be. They went out and upgraded it. They're not afraid. Look, they got 7 running backs on the roster. They're constantly churning over talent, looking for players that are going to compete, work hard, and be able to help this football team take the next step. And you have to. I think when everybody saw it, I mean, I like I said, I hyper-focus on Saturday. Guys, there's no unintentional moves that happen in football. Like, Dan Campbell had a good practice on Saturday where he put the Lions number 1s against the number 2 defense, and then the number 2 offense against the number 1 defense. And he got a chance to see, okay, what can the guys that we're counting on to make plays, what can they do? And Sudfeld looked brutal. So it just made it an easy layup decision. And Sudfeld, I just think he is what he is, and he's a developmental quarterback that I don't think that it just doesn't have enough experience at the NFL level that if you throw him in there that he's going to do anything. And Dan Campbell pointed it out in his presser when he was asked about why do you have such an affinity for Teddy Bridgewater. He says, when Drew Brees went down, he went 5-0, and he kept the season afloat. So that is something that sticks with head coaches and that sticks with people is that, hey, if something happens, this quarterback has familiarity with the NFC North. He has familiarity. He can be and also, too, let's not discount another set of eyes that has that level of experience for Jared Goff. Also makes Jared Goff 5% better. Right then and there off the top. Another set of eyes that can see what's some tendencies that he remembers from the Vikings, what he's learned over time, because the Saints are still were in the NFC, and he has that experience of what kind of tendencies that he's learned and picked up throughout the ages and time. So I think it's a great opportunity. And finally, and something that is also a big benefit is maybe Hendon Hooker just feels, 2% more comfortable going to Teddy about something than maybe trying to ruffle the feathers with Jared Goff, who might be deep in checks and looking at different schemes and things like that, where he can get some insight from Jared. But at the same time, maybe he can get a deeper understanding and a deeper relationship with Teddy Bridgewater, because backups tend to gravitate toward each other and starters are just obviously tasked with so many more responsibilities, meetings, media obligations. So it's just going to benefit Hendon Hooker if he's given the opportunity. Now you have boom, boom in the room. You got some quarterbacks that you can count on to kind of bridge this gap over the next 12 to 24 months. So I thought it was great all the way around. A+, great on you. And I'm so glad that once the rumors started swirling, look, guys, it's not rocket science to realize that Teddy Bridgewater was coming here. The second it was announced, we had it. So it's not that hard to put the pieces together when you see a brutal practice and everyone looking at, and the fans were there, seeing what the head coach said about the player and realizing that once the rumors started swirling, everybody knew that was paying attention that Teddy was going to be a Lion sooner rather than later. And guys, everybody knows it. When the headline comes in from All Lions and Detroit Sports Podcast, call Teddy again. Boom. Brad knows what's up because that's how we think. That's how I thought. And sometimes you wonder yourself, well, are you being too reactionary? They were bad interceptions. They were brutal. So we're not going to just throw out bold headlines just because it was needed. And so I thought, and still too, Sudfeld in the joint practices was okay, but to start, because the quarterbacks cannot get in rhythm with J-Mo. This time around, over the past couple days, it was the quarterbacks. J-Mo gets so wide open, Sudfeld can't hit him. And it's crazy what's going on in that you can really see the lack of practice time for J-Mo has killed their connection with Sudfeld, Goff. It's just not clicking. And this week, it's through no real fault of Jameson. He's getting open. It's the timing with the quarterbacks has been crazy. So that's my first takeaway. And second, it kind of goes to form as it should, where one team in the Lions on day one showed out, full emotion. They balled out. Maybe the travel or whatever it was for the Giants took them a minute to get synced in. Day two, the Giants showed out, and they probably got their ass chewed out after Tuesday by the coaching staff going, look at these guys, man. The Detroit defense is cheering after every rep. They're kicking your ass all over the place. Daniel Jones, get your shit together. Let's go. And they came out on Wednesday, and they started perfect 10 for 10 and 7 and 7 drills. You saw, cause if I can try to put this eloquently in words, defensive back, and I've said it before, friends don't let friends play cornerback, but oh my God, Darren Waller is 6'6", and he had a rep where he goes over the middle right in front of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It literally looked like if Waller wanted to, he could squish C.J. like a bug. That's how massive that dude was coming in. And let me set the table for you guys right there because I looked right at the rep because today on Wednesday, when we're recording this, I looked at the defense. CJ's talking a bunch of shit nonstop all the time. Blah, 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 blah. The rep happens. The play comes right in front of him. Dead silence because that dude was 6'6", maybe 240, 260, a pure muscle coming at him. He didn't fully go wrap up and tackle him because it wasn't full-on tackling. But if it was going to go down, it literally would have looked like, if you're a fan of wrestling, when a shoulder tackle happens and the guy goes flying 20 feet back. Oh, my God. Darren Waller is a monster of a man, and he made his presence felt along with Darius Slayton, who was getting targeted. But besides that, just a quick, if you're a fan of NFC football, the Giants don't really have that much of a deep threat. They didn't test the lines deep all that much on Wednesday, and when they did, Slayton got 4 yards, and Daniel Jones couldn't hit him. So it was crazy, but in terms of the intermediate work, it was good, too, because when you have a bad practice like the Lions defense did, you can clean up a lot of things. Some communication errors popped up, and it just goes to show you it's an offensive league. Offenses can get, and Dayball's slick too. He uses motion, he uses tricks, he uses good route combinations to get his guys open, and it was a lot of intermediate stuff, but Daniel Jones looked a lot more crisp, and on the defensive side, guys, get excited. Hutch is legit. Monster. Pascal, the defensive line, Broderick Martin, they're all showing out, and they got it. They got what it takes to be hungry. So my big takeaways in regards to what I saw, J-Mo, it didn't happen over the 2 days, and it swung back and forth, where day one, the Lions won it, and day two, it was the Giants doing a lot more things. There's a rep you can see online. The Giants posted it. From my vantage point, I saw the tail end where number 24 has the football, so I said, oh, is that a pick? Number 24 of the Giants rips the football directly out of David Montgomery's hands. So I heard the cheers as he was celebrating. But the other big takeaway, because this is not hyperbole. This is not to jump on a hype train. But Jahmyr Gibbs is him. That dude has launch speed. That dude has real deal NFL speed. He can catch the football. He can make plays. He can do it all. And when you say how much now, he's about a 25% upgrade over DeAndre Swift. And Swift wasn't all that bad. He's the real deal. He just has to get his footing under him, get comfortable. And once he does, when you strap the rocket ship to Jahmyr Gibbs, cuz Goff is going to be comfortable. You're going to need to develop maybe one more relationship, and hopefully it's with J-Mo. But right now, if Goff needs a safety valve, it's Amon-Ra, lock it down. It's Sam Laporta, lock it down. It's set. And it's Jahmyr Gibbs, lock it down. And we're not even talking about the rushing ability of David Montgomery and Dylan Drummond, who's emerging maybe as a depth piece that starts off on the practice squad. So the offense looks nice. It looks good in regards to some drills and things like that. And then just count on St. Brown, who it basically turned the lights on, watch the man cook, because it was nice to see him win reps. And it was cool, too, because a lot of the Giants were friendly. Like, even the linebacker that got cooked, it went viral. He was talking to the New York media and was like, yeah, it happens. It's the NFL. They get paid, too. And, he's got real speed. And it's about, he goes, the NFL is about matchup night, it's a matchup league. And it is tougher for linebackers with their big bulk to guard running backs. It's just the way it is. Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell can't guard pretty much Jahmyr Gibbs in space. It would be crazy if he did. You'd almost look at Gibbs as a problem if a big 250-pound linebacker is able to keep up with you. And Gibbs made a highlight reel situation where he made a stop and start move and took it down. So those are my big takeaways. I was impressed. Very professional. No fights. But bottom line, Brian Daboll is sweet, dude. He gave me a pat on the shoulder. He gave me a firm pat on the shoulder. I was standing to his left in the media session, had the camera up over my face a little bit for about the first minute and a half. He talks very smooth, very calm, very natural. Done with the presser. All right, fellas, you all good? Good. He walks over, big old hand, pat on the shoulder. I'm like, holy cow, dude. I'm like, that's almost dislocated. I've never had a firm pat on the shoulder before from another man. It was cool. And it was natural. It's fun to be there, and it's good to report back. But there's so much to get into regarding the joint practices. Those are my big takeaways. Did you have any questions or the stuff that you read or look at you wanted any deeper insights in regards to? Because I obviously took in a lot of the information from other reporters when I was looking at the offense Wednesday, paying attention to the defense. And one thing, I do want to leave a caveat out here too, because it started showing up online. Guys, television reporters have the opportunity to live tweet because they're not tasked with reporting what goes on in observation. So when you see a New York guy who, thank you, Mr. New York reporter, who live tweeted the entire practices, thank you for doing that. But guys, that doesn't indicate that the Detroit media is being lazy. They figured it out. I'm going to put it point blank. I get no gain financially or benefit in my job if I tweet anything. If I tweet information, that's one less nugget that you know about that is reserved for a story. You know what I mean? So why would you listen to a podcast if I told you everything that was in a podcast on a tweet? So the other media in Detroit figured it out that you can't live tweet an entire practice. It's not laziness. It's just for the fact that we need your eyes on the website. I need your ears in this podcast. So yes, I did throw out a couple more tweets on Wednesday just to satisfy all you complainers. But I'll say this, there is no benefit to a reporter to put any information on Twitter. It's free. That's the lesson that any boss is going to give you 101. Why would you create a video on Twitter for 1 million views if you can have it on a podcast for 1 million listens or a website with 1 million views? It makes no sense. You're making Elon money. So everybody caught on in Detroit, but it was just juxtaposed with a New York guy who just was tweeting nonstop. So everybody's like, why did Detroit reporters stop? It's not because Jared Goff pissed us off. It's not because we're butthurt. It's because if you tweet, you're missing 2 reps where there's good information to watch. So if you look at my notebook, it's 2 pages long every day, front and back, of every single play that happens. And when a play happens, you got to look at who the intended target was, who made the play, who was the quarterback, first team, what down is it? So, guys, don't beat up on these reporters. And I see it all. I see everything you guys are tweeting me and these other reporters. Give it a rest, dude. Read the articles, listen to the podcast, and stop being butthurt. Television guys can tweet all day and night. Beat reporters can't. They have to report what you see. I can't write 15 observations a day in a 1,500 words if I'm tweeting all day. Sorry. Ask. Feel free. Tweet me. And everywhere I go, I say, feel free. Ask me what you want to read and I'll answer it. But I can't live tweet the entire, and I can't laugh tweet at all when there's no fans in the stands. Not a word. I did, put an emoji out there when there was no fans in the stands, and I got my hand slapped. So they're watching me. So get off my ass and get off these reporters' ass and listen in and read. It's just that simple. What else caught your attention, cuz? What got you riled up and your juices flowing?
Were you around, or did you see when C.J. Gardner-Johnson basically smacked Amani Araware's head and basically told him that he was soft? Said that
no,
he's not here because he's got no grit. I seen a tweet about this, and I thought it was amazing.
Everybody talked about it. Now, okay, so Tuesday for me was fully watching the Detroit Lions offense. So they have two fields, so the other field, that was going on. If that were to have happened, I can't report that. I can't say that it happened because I'm not allowed to, based on the rules, discuss communication amongst players. But I can do it the way I reported it, which was, guys, for the most part, C.J. Gardner-Johnson talks nonstop. He talks shit a lot.
He is a shit talker.
He's a shit talker. And like I said earlier, only a 6'6" ginormous man that he'd be staring up at could get him to shut up. But yeah, C.J. Gardner-Johnson talks shit, and I'm certain that when Amani Araware was there, some things maybe were said to him. But to the degree of which it was, I did not hear it. I know it made the rounds on Twitter. Everybody in the media room was like, if that was how it was said, it's funny as shit. You are soft and you lack grit. It just made everybody laugh. I don't think that's exactly the way in which he would say it. It'd be more like, you motherfucking idiot. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. I'm sure that was cleaned up.
Yeah, exactly. So good for the fans that heard it. It's crazy, but there's a chance that I can't go with that because I didn't hear it. But yes, C.J. Gardner-Johnson talks a lot of smack to the Lions receivers, and he'll do it in the season. He's a talker, and he's somebody that likes to rile it up. So does Kirby Joseph. And that's what I'm saying, man. This defense has a swagger. When they make plays, they're all up on it, and they're celebrating and dancing. But when you do that, and another team sees that for a day, then the next day, be careful, because I would say be careful. If CJ does that early in a game, you might piss off the wrong receiver who might light you up. So that's a very fine line. And I love it being a reporter covering it. But if you're somebody that's in the shit-talking game and you realize, oh, shit, when I do that, I better be able to back it up, because playing defense is fucking hard as hell. The offense is so easily schemed up to get open. It's great with motions and the advance. Right now, I would say in the league in general, the offenses are like 58% efficient, and the defenses are 42% knowing everything and where it's at. The offense just has an edge with motion. Motions can tell you exactly how a defense is set up. You can identify so many defenses in so many ways that it's just impossible to be a good defense. It's just impossible. If you have good offensive talent and you're not a bonehead, you can coach up. And Brian Daboll is good. Woo! I like what he can do as a schemer, and he was standing right behind Daniel Jones calling things, and he was able to get his guys open, was able to get a lot of good clean work in on day 2. So C.J. Gardner-Johnson, epic shit talker. I can't wait to see how it plays out this year.
So something else that kind of caught my attention, right? And it had to do more with the signing of Teddy Bridgewater, but to the point of kind of what we were just talking about with C.J. Gardner and Amani Araware. Yeah. They brought in a long snapper, Jack McQuaid. He was released with the transaction to bring Teddy Bridgewater in. I think, and this goes back to something that you briefly touched on. I think the thing that is special about this team, nobody's job is safe.
Yes.
Nobody's job is secure. This team in this organization is looking to put out the best of the best. I was looking at some of the depth charts, and I was reading some of the stuff online and looking at who was running with which team.
Yep.
And I feel like Tracy Walker is a very good safety in this league. Tracy Walker might be a backup on this team.
Yeah.
And Tracy Walker could go basically anywhere else and start.
Yes.
But this team is telling you, we are playing the absolute best. Your job is not safe. They brought Teddy Bridgewater in for that reason, right? Nate Sudfeld did not have a good day at practice. They said, screw it. Look, we hands down, we need to go get this guy. He's going to help us. You have a wide receiver who is playing out of his mind right now. He was an undrafted free agent, playing amazing. This is a guy who's going to get reps. At some point, he's going to get reps because he's doing all the work. He is winning his position battle. You've got a guy like Jake McQuaid who basically said, look, I'm interested in coming to play for you guys. I want to be there. And the team was like, look, if you win the job, you win the job. But if it's a tie, we're sticking with Scott Daly, who's our long snapper right now. So you need to come in and you need to absolutely win this job. Otherwise, we're sticking with the guy we got. This guy came in, didn't win the job. They made a move to bring another guy in who's going to help strengthen this team. This team is looking to put dogs and badasses in every position. And I think you kind of seen that with the practice that's going on. You've seen that with the players and the movement that's going on with them bringing different guys in, with different guys getting released. This team, and I told you this weeks ago, this team is not set. Yes. This team will still be making roster moves all the way up until week 1 of the season because they are looking to just bolster their crew, bolster their team in every single position. And I think that was probably the biggest thing I took away from this week with the Lions. The biggest thing I took away from the joint practices, the biggest thing I took away from the free agent signing of Teddy Bridgewater. And I think, honestly, if the report on C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Amari Oruware's interaction is correct, if it is right, if some semblance of that was said, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's got it nailed. Yeah. He's got it knocked down because they're looking for guys who are hard, guys who have toughness, guys who can go out and win that battle and win the position. Amani Oruware, I gave him a ton of credit last year. I thought he was going to be a great player. I thought he was going to really secure that position and lock it down. He didn't. And you know what? He's gone. He's not here. They didn't bring him back. They said bye-bye. And I think that's what you're getting with this team. This team is looking to put guys who are going to go out there and win it every single day, which is why when you talk about Jameson Williams and you talk about the rough starts that he's had, it gets interesting to kind of think about what's going to happen with this guy. Like, how is this going to work out in the long run? Because this is a guy who was a first-round draft pick. This is a guy that you gave up a lot to go get. And you've got a undrafted free agent who is, at this moment in time, sounds like he's outplaying him in camp. What is your take on J-Mo right now? Is there something to worry about, nothing to worry about? Does I believe the last name is Drummond, right?
Yep,
Drummond. Does Drummond have the inside track to get a spot on this team, or is he just going to get designated the practice squad and he'll be basically one of the first guys brought up? Where are you at with this? Like, how do you see this kind of playing out? Because I find the reports, one, concerning on J-Mo, right? And I know last week it was his fault. This week it sounds like it's the quarterback's fault. But there's not harmony there, and you would expect at this point you'd have enough extra reps, you'd have enough extra practice, you would have enough familiarity with each other to where you could kind of bridge that relationship, and it would just kind of just take its course. It doesn't sound like that's happening, but you have a guy who is out there willing to earn it and willing to burn it every single snap. And it sounds like he's getting a pretty good look. And it sounds like he has a shot where if he continues what he's doing for at least another couple of weeks, he's got the possibility of at least making this team and then actually playing some real reps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team that is, Dan Campbell's from the Bill Parcells tree, which is, hey, what are you doing for me lately? If you're not cutting the mustard, we see it. It's clear. Communication's open. And it's all about competition. And that's the NFL. That's the business side of it. And yes, it's certain now that the Lions have a recipe. They have a formula. They brought in the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, another clone, a hard worker in Dylan Drummond, who's the right guy locally, who will work hard, doesn't buy into the hype. I mean, I asked him on Wednesday, right after practice. I said, have you seen all the hype, NFL Network? He's like, yeah, I've seen it, but it just makes me, really hunker down, and I just got to prove it. I haven't done anything yet. And he's really serious, and he's all about his business. And you got to remember, too, no spot is guaranteed. So even though he might get hyped up, everybody hypes up one camp darling in camp, but his spot is tough to earn. I just think it's going to be tough. He's going to have to show out in training camp because he's got to jump over Khalif Raymond. He's got to jump over Josh Reynolds if he's going to make this roster. But he's very close. A couple performances like he's had in practice and games, he's got the job. So you recognize that this is a football team that is acting like a football team should in regards to their competitive nature, how they turn over the roster, what is expected, and I'm very excited for the opportunities that are about to happen for the Lions. And I see it's a football team that has the right mindset, where Dan Campbell's like, I love this. I love doing everything that's possible to compete. Literally, he came in on Tuesday like he was out of breath from being so hyped. Check out his Tuesday presser. The media asked him, said, dude, you look like you're hyped up. He's like, I love this. I should be pumped. I got a chance to compete against another team. He's like, I feel like I want to be out there. And that's why, because I want to set the scene too. Tuesday was the wildest thing I think I've ever seen in media coverage, where it was like the center of the NFL world. It was as if the Lions were a Super Bowl team. You looked around, it was Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, John Macaroon of All Lions. You had all of these media members that were out there, like Jay Glazer was out there. You look to your right, Kurt Menefee's out there. You had NFL Network broadcasting live with Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, Andrew Siciliano. There was just, and I'm leaving out so many that were there from The Athletic and all the contingency from New York. You had major media in town. And on Wednesday, Chris Collins, you look to my left, there's Chris Collinsworth chilling and looking in, and Mike Tirico. The national media is all taking their turn coming in, and it was a complete media attention center on Tuesday. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen, and to be part of it, it was cool because, everybody's doing their job. Sports Illustrated sent another national media member to do a bunch of interviews with Hutchinson, Goff, Campbell. It was surreal to see that much attention, and just to see, with the fans there too, that much, attention given to this football team. And to see what this has become, it's really crazy that it's a preseason game against the Giants. I'm excited to see a lot of different things. For me, Friday night, I'm excited to see Drummond. I'm excited to see, because Dan Campbell said that Jameson Williams is going to get heavy reps. How many reps? Can the quarterbacks find him? Can Sudfeld launch a pass in stride to Jamo? How many reps does Goff take? I would say none. But I'm curious to see how Laporta, if he gets reps, how he fits in, and Campbell, and then on the defensive side, Montgomery, Barnes, how they look, and obviously the reserves in the secondary with Starling, Thomas, Stephen Gilmore, the likes of Chase Lucas. So you're going to get a nice, juicy assessment of how things are going. But for me, like everybody else, prime target number one, what does Jamo do in the preseason?
Yeah, I think that's what I want to see the most. I want to see, how is Jameson Williams utilized in this offense. I want to actually see him make plays. I want to see him go out and kind of take charge of his role. I want to see some leadership from him. I don't want to see these drops. I don't want to see these miscommunications. I don't want to see any diva-like behavior. But I do want to see him kind of take command of his position and his role on this team. And that's what I'm looking for. And look, I don't know how many reps he's going to get, but every rep that he's out there, I want him to squeeze it to its fullest potential. I want him to take advantage of everything he can do, because, like we talked about last week, this is his game time. This is what he gets. He's not playing for the first 6 weeks of the season. This is your game time. This is what you need to do to get prepared. And that's what I want to see. I want to see him take those steps forward. I don't think we will necessarily see a lot of the first team. You might see a couple of reps here or there. I don't think there's going to really be anything that you can really gauge anything off of. But what I do want to see is, I want to see those sub packages, and I want to see those secondary packages. Not the first team guys, but I want to see those second team guys, and I want to see those guys go out there and basically earn their spots. And that's what I'm looking for. You can watch a game, especially a preseason game, you could say, yeah, that guy's earning his spot. That guy is taking charge of his role, and he is commanding it. And that's what I want to see. I don't think you can go into these preseason games and you can basically say, look, Lions end up coming out the winner 24-23. We've got a really good team. They're going to do some really great things. Like that, you can't look at it that way. You've got to look at it as units playing together, and you've got to look at it as individual players earning time and earning spots. And I want to see these guys that are on this second team especially go out there and kind of take charge. And as far as Jameson Williams go, I want to see reps. I want to see this guy play. Shit, man, if he can play a whole half, I'll be ecstatic. I don't know if they'll do it, but I think it would be great, because He needs the reps. You talked about it earlier. You can see there's still this disconnect because he hasn't had the practice time, and he hasn't gotten on the same page with his quarterbacks, and he hasn't gotten on the same page, it sounds like, with the offense. So I want to see him earning that, as well as the other guys who are lower on the depth chart, because the stronger your second line is, the stronger your second and third string are, the further you can go, because it is always that next man up mentality. Like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we thought he went down early. Everybody was kind of in a panic. And Dan Campbell came out, said, look, next guy up. Like, this is what it is. This is the business of being big boys. There's no pissing and moaning. There's no crying about spilled milk. It is about going out and earning that next rep, and that is what this team is built on. So I want to see these guys go out there and basically do it and show it. And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for with I guess as a whole, these preseason games, especially the first two.
Yeah.
The third one, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, all right,
let's get out of here healthy.
Going through motions.
Yeah, let's get out of here healthy.
We're just going through motions, and we're looking to basically fill out special teams.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I want to see, man. I want to see guys taking charge. Everything that has come out this week, especially, has been very positive.
Yes.
Offense making plays, defense rooting them on. Defense making plays, offense rooting them on. You got guys who sound like they are taking charge of parts of this team. And it sounds like guys are in charge of their role on this team. And that's what I want to see on the field in game time. I know it's preseason, but that is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just want to see everybody stay healthy. And you want to see people win jobs as opposed to players losing jobs. You know what I mean? You want to see Drummond secure a couple touchdowns. You want to see Starling Thomas fight more than just his teammates. You want to see linebackers make plays. Malcolm Rodriguez hopefully gets his opportunity to state his case to be in the mix to earn reps. James Houston hopefully gets his opportunity. And I love the fact that Dan Campbell doesn't mince words. For players that he wants to see improvements out of, Antoine Green and James Houston, he comes out to the cameras and says, they're inconsistent, we need to see more. And for a 7th rounder and a 6th rounder, I think it's fair to say that James Houston has a skill set that is coveted in the NFL, but the Lions want complete players. They don't want a guy that they can just stick out there for 3rd down to get a sack. That's great, and if that's all he ends up being, the Lions will be blessed. But if they can get a guy that can play outside linebacker at the Sam spot, can navigate, can get on the field a little bit more, then he can serve the team in a variety of roles. So it's great, man. The hype is real. The fans have been out there screaming and chanting during practice. Dude, they are such... Because the fans are clamoring so much that an eye emoji from a podcaster got everybody all messed up. And of course we knew that Teddy was coming. It wasn't rocket science. It's not like you need a lot of million sources to realize he was coming. Yeah, and of course, you get some intel regarding kind of when it happens. Hopefully you follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast because you kind of knew. But the reason why I posted the heating up tweet was the fact that it was getting close. That's all the information you get. You ask people, they don't go, Teddy Bridgewater is going to sign today at 6:30. They say, pay attention, a signing could happen, and that's the way they talk. So that's the way I deliver it. And basically you're playing it safe in your reporting. You don't say Teddy Bridgewater is going to sign today, because then people find out and they can easily just shut it down. They can just have him sign tomorrow, and then you got eggs on your face. So that's why we kind of talk in cryptic messages in the way in which it's not putty. I love the fact that you finally got back on Twitter to say that I'm looking for cheap heat. I keep it real. I don't post heating up. I don't post eye emojis all the time. So when you see it, be alarmed and be aware that something is brewing. That's the way it means. But everybody got all butthurt because they did their own confirmation bias thinking it was about JMO or thinking about this or that. So it's fun, but what that means is y'all are dialed in, which I love. I love getting those messages where 50 people message me and say, what's happening? What do you know? And I say, look, nothing official, but keep an eye out. Brad Holmes is cooking. That was my message back, and everybody understood. So I think that everybody's in tap, and it's signaled too, because every season ticket is sold out. A waiting list. We didn't have a waiting list even when Kenny and I were season ticket holders. We haven't
had a waiting list in forever.
A waiting list.
I can't remember the last time there was a waiting list.
So it's crazy to think that Ford Field is now, in regards to the ability for fans to see every single game. You have to now wait and get on a waiting list if you want to be a season ticket holder. Now, of course, the secondary market, people I think bought them too as a way to resell them. There's certainly that thing that's available. But what it tells me about this fan base, and it's real easy based on your guys' reaction to tweets. You guys are commenting and debating a 7th running back that signed during camp. Guys, I don't want to be disrespectful, but there is such a thing as a camp body. And the people that get signed kind of right now, that have 4 career carries, you kind of know what their role is going to be. But we got the people debating nonstop about a cut wide receiver that was just brought here last week and a new running back. Y'all are crazy, and I love it because it just means that all the podcasts you'll listen to, you guys are dominating the website. You guys are dominating listening to the podcast. You make it fun. You make it so that it's very fun to grind and do 2 jobs fully to bring you everything possible. As much as I'm allowed to bring you, me and Adam will do as much as humanly possible in regards to what we can say and how we can handle business. But, man, this is the most fever pitch. But with that said, it's a slippery slope because if the Lions do end up slipping up or they do suffer an injury or they start the year 0-2, when the expectations are this high, the pressure is on. And I know Dan Campbell says, he's doing the Bette Midler thing and it's the wind beneath his wings type thing, but the pressure's real. And it's going to play out this year that the fans want. They're not just going to be like, I want to get to the playoffs. They want the home playoff game. They're hungry. And now, and the way I described it to a friend of the podcast, it's fever pitched. Everything is being hypercritically looked at. Everything is being analyzed and parsed. And when 50 media members show up over 2 days from around the country to check out your football team and to see what's going on, it is crazy right now. But it's crazy fun when you were in the evaluation preseason hype mode. It's about to end, though. We're getting now closer to where the clock will turn, and all this is going to mean something come September 7th. But kudos to the fans. They bought in, and you have to give credit, to the marketing department. The videos, the behind the scenes, the hyper focus on good plays. It's all marketing. It's a business, and they've done an absolutely top-notch job of highlighting why this football team should be invested in. But it's a slippery slope. When you invite the expectations, you got to live with Jared Goff. You got to live with, if you start 1-6 again this year, we're not going to be writing nice things, and you can bet on that.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I think with the selling out of Ford Field, like you said, the fans have bought in. The fans are buying into the organization. They're buying into the organization's view of what they want this team to be. And it seems like everybody's on board. It seems like this is the one team that the city, that the fan base has gotten behind and has fully committed to. It's been bad, right? Red Wings are getting better, but they're still not making the playoffs. Pistons, I have no idea what's going on with the Pistons right now. It's a complete mess. Same thing with the Tigers. Tigers seem like they are forever away from winning anything. But it feels like the Detroit Lions are the front runners right now. It feels like the Detroit Lions have something that is obtainable, that you can reach out and you can grab. And it's not just playoff spots. It is winning playoff games and looking to a brighter future where maybe there's a Super Bowl on the horizon. But this seems like for the first time in a long time, this team is actually going to go do something. It's going to actually make noise. It seems like from the inside out, this organization is built to last. It doesn't feel like it's all done with smoke and mirrors. Forever and a day, the way this organization has functioned, they would win one season, get into the playoffs. They would end up getting a bad loss in that playoff, and then they would regress, and they would take 2 years off, and then they would kind of come back, and they would get in, and then same deal. They would take 2-3 years off, regress, and then they would come back, win, and it was just kind of rinse and repeat. It never felt like it was sustainable. With the way this team is built right now and what the fan base is telling you, that's why they bought up all the tickets. That's why Ford Field is now sold out. They're telling you that we see what you want to do. We understand what you're doing, and we're buying in. And for the first time in, I think, my entire lifetime, at least what I can remember, this team, it is built for the long term. It is not a short term, let's just try to patch it up and go and we'll figure it out as we're moving forward. This is a thing where they tore it down, and brick by brick, this team, this organization has built it back up. And I think you're getting a bit of a power that is awakening. This is a bit of a sleeping giant in the NFC North, and I think they are built to last, and the fans are rewarding them. And I think that's kind of what it tells you about not just the fan base and kind of what the fan base sees and how the fan base feels, but I think it tells you that the organization's doing a lot of the right things, a lot of the things that we've asked them to do for a long time. We basically have asked them to function as a big boy team. Don't do this small market BS. Go out there and put your big boy pants on and do things that real organizations do. And you're getting that now. And because of that, the team is rewarding you. Yes. I think it's fantastic, man. It is exciting. If you are a Detroit Lions fan, this is a very exciting time. You should be proud of your team and proud of what they're doing. And if you're not on the bandwagon now, you really need to get your ticket and you need to jump aboard, because I really do feel like this team is moving in the right direction. It does feel like it feels different. It always feels dirty when we come on and we talk about this team and we praise them, because we haven't been able to do that in forever. And the things that we talk about other organizations doing. We don't talk about our organization doing it. And now you can kind of wear that shoe and you can talk about it and you can be proud about it and you can be excited about this team. And you're right. They come out and they shit the bed and they roll around in it and they're 1-6 again. We're going to hammer them. And there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings, and there's going to be a lot of PTSD that's going to end up showing up. And as a fan base, I don't know if the organization, I think Dan Campbell could come out and he can kind of talk his way out of it if he had to, and I think Brad Holmes could too. But I don't know if the fan base would be as willing to accept those types of results, especially with all the hype that we've had.
Yeah, and I'll say this, okay? Don't want to knock anybody's hustle, but if you're going to go down to Ford Field and you're a season ticket holder, eat and drink at your own place, because just judging by SummerSlam and the 15-minute wait to get food and to get broken up nachos and to get a $14 beer and a $5 peanuts, hell no. I was, though, thrilled that you can put your shit down on a little pad and it'll tell you how much you got to pay. But I was like, damn, the grab and go was expensive as shit. The food was expensive. And my daughter, which I love now that she's 11 and has a phone, she's like, Baba, Dad, you spent that much on the stuff that you bought? I'm like, yeah. She was like, that's a lot. And I said, yeah, you guys ordered two drinks, 2 waters, 2 pretzels, and a nachos for Dad. And, gotta keep typing. I'll say this. Become an expert, okay? And hopefully everybody that's important turns this off. What you can do is you can bring a little fanny pack and try to figure out a way to kind of slip a couple of those fireballs in the back pocket, and you distract by putting stuff that they got to look at in the fanny pack, like, a clear fanny pack with, like, combs and normal shit. Meanwhile, the back of your pocket, it's got like 4 fireballs that you can fire up during the game. Because otherwise, your ass is going to be spending $150 to park and $150 for food. And that's not even talking about a ticket. The event is going to cost you per game about $600 if you want to act normal. So I would say grill up your food, slam your beers beforehand, and go dry between 1 and 4. Otherwise, your wallet is going to be sucked dry throughout the course of 8 NFL football games, 10 if you go to the preseason. My God, the prices are, and listen, like I said, I don't hate anybody's hustle. I can pay it if I needed to, but it's at the point now. This is, in my humble opinion, being a little bit frugal, but also being fair from where we came from, where the beers were $7, now they're $14. It's at the line where you're going to bust up a lot of people by charging them $14 and then $15 for a pretzel and $10 for a hot dog and $7 for a water. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. You are getting up there. So that's my PSA for today. Man, cause that football conversation was spectacular. I love breaking it down. I can't wait for next week where we can break it all down, what we saw from the preseason, the practices that happened after That was a fun hour, man. You're into it. I love it. You're dialed in, and everybody here at the podcast is dialed into everything that's going on with the Detroit Lions. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Hit us up. If you got any recommendations, any comments, if you disagree with everything that you heard, if you got some more concerns, or if you're still the wait and see approach, or you're not on the bandwagon, let us know. We love to hear it and interact with you guys. Anywhere that you listen to your favorite audio content, just type in 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and our content will find you. It's been fun to share more of our stuff. And then one last thing, credit to our guy, Vito Churko. Obviously, he had personal reasons to do a charity event for the National Kidney Foundation, and he went balls to the wall. The project was able to help him out and to give it attention and to be there. And my man raised $10,500 plus for the National Kidney Foundation. And I know how much it meant to him, how much it's going to mean to his family. And it's a great thing when people affiliated with our project do things and we can highlight it and take our little slice of the internet, that little toxic slice of X, Twitter, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, and to showcase what good people do like Vito. So we'll always do that. Make sure you follow him at Vito Jerome to see all his charitable efforts and what he's always into, and the great leader that he is in the community. Cause great shit. Let's get after it. Podcasting time's over. I can't wait to fire up this microphone next week for the next edition of Doc and Jock.